In the darkness of his solitary confinement cell, where the air smells of rusted iron and accumulated despair, a man named Elias Thompson, head guard of E Block, the infamous shadow corridor, hears a whisper that doesn't come from human lips. It's midnight, and the silence of Blackridge State Prison is broken only by the distant hum of fluorescent lights. Elias, 52 years old, his wrinkles marked by sleepless nights and decisions that weigh like chains, walks down the narrow corridor, his boots echoing like the beating of a reluctant heart. He stops in front of cell 47 where Jonah Reed, sentenced to death for a brutal murder he swore he didn't commit, lies chained to the metal bed. Jonah is unlike the others. His eyes, a deep blue like forgotten oceans, seem to carry secrets that transcend the bars. "You feel it, don't you?" Jonah murmurs, his voice hoarse but serene as if he's talking to an old friend. Elias ignores it, but a chill runs down his spine. The same one he felt the night his daughter died years ago from an illness doctors couldn't explain. What Elias doesn't know is that Jonah possesses a cursed gift. He can absorb the pain of others, transforming it into visions that reveal hidden truths, but at a cost that consumes him from within. Tonight, as Jonah's execution approaches, the miracle begins to unfold, forcing Elias to question not only the justice of the system, but the very essence of humanity he swore to protect. Imagine an ordinary man trapped in a cycle of institutional violence, discovering that the real crime is the indifference that allows innocent people to suffer. This isn't just a story, it's a call for you, the viewer, to pause and reflect on the invisible chains that bind us all. Elias vividly remembers the day Jonah arrived at E Block, handcuffed and dragged by two rookie guards who laughed at his apparent weakness. Jonah was a middle-aged man, thin as a twig, with shaggy gray hair and a scar that cut across his left cheek, a reminder of a childhood spent on the streets of a decaying city. Accused of killing his wife in a fit of rage, the evidence seemed irrefutable. Fingerprints on the gun, eyewitnesses paid off with shady favors. But Jonah always denied it, with a calmness that irritated prosecutors. "I didn't kill anyone," he said in court, "but I carry the deaths of many." Cryptic words that were dismissed as delusion. Now in the hallway, Elias watches Jonah through the bars, noticing how the prisoner reaches out a trembling hand, touching the air as if he could sense the auras of those passing by. Other prisoners shout insults from neighboring cells. Marcus, the serial killer who laughs at his own atrocities. Lena, the only woman in the cell, convicted of poisoning her abusive lover. But Jonah remains serene, his eyes fixed on Elias. "Your pain is like a shadow, guard, let me help you." Elias laughs, forced, but feels a pang in his chest. The same pain that has tormented him since the loss of his daughter Sarah, who succumbed to a rare cancer at age 12. He turns away, ordering the guards to prepare the cell for the final inspection. However, that night during their shift, something inexplicable happens. A sudden blackout plunges the cell into total darkness. Screams echo, but Jonah begins to sing an ancient melody, low and hypnotic, which soothes the souls like a balm. When the lights come back on, Elias finds Marcus, the killer, weeping in his cell, mumbling confessions of untried crimes. He showed me what I did," Marcus stammers. Elias, skeptical, attributes it to stress, but a seed of doubt is planted. Days pass, and the corridor seems to change. Guards report vivid dreams, reviving painful memories they've repressed for years. One of them, young guard Riley, confesses to Elias that he dreamed about the car accident that killed his mother. But in the dream, he saw the truth. It wasn't an accident. It was the negligence of a drunk driver who was never caught. "How would Jonah know that?" Riley asks, eyes wide. Elias, now restless, decides to confront Jonah in person. In the cell, under the dim light, Jonah reaches out again. "Touch me and see." Reluctantly, Elias complies, and a flood of images floods his mind. Sarah laughing in the park, then the disease consuming her. But there's more, a vision of a corrupt doctor who hid treatments out of greed. Elias steps back, panting, feeling a lightness in his chest that he hasn't experienced in years.
"What are you?" he asks.
Jonah smiles weakly. "Just a man who absorbs what others can't. But each absorption brings me closer to the end." This revelation shakes Elias, forcing him to question the executions he oversaw, the lives taken by a flawed system. The viewer is pulled in. What if the miracle isn't physical healing but the exposure of truths that free trapped souls? Persuasively, the script implores you to see beyond the bars. The true prison is silence in the face of injustice. As Jonah's execution date approaches, set for the winter solstice ironically enough, Block E transforms into a cauldron of tension. Elias, now obsessed, spends nights reviewing Jonah's case in dusty files, uncovering discrepancies, witnesses who changed their statements, evidence planted by an ambitious prosecutor seeking promotion. He confronts his superior, Warden Hale, a man hardened by bureaucracy who dismisses his concerns as the fantasies of a weary guard. But Elias doesn't give up. He recruits Riley and another guard, the experienced Carla, who carries her own burden, a brother wrongfully executed years earlier. Together, they investigate in secret, visiting Jonah for more sessions. Each touch reveals layers. For Carla, visions of her brother pleading his innocence before the electric chair. For Riley, the identity of the driver who killed his mother. Jonah, weakened with each absorption, explains his gift. Born into a family of sensitives, he learned to absorb pain like a sponge, but the process ages him prematurely, transforming him into a vessel of collective suffering. "I don't heal bodies," he says, "I heal consciousness." The story's midpoint intensifies when a riot breaks out in the block, instigated by Marcus, who, after his vision, seeks redemption by attacking corrupt guards. In the chaos, Jonah is injured but uses his gift to calm the rioters, absorbing their collective rage. Elias protects him, risking his career, and in that moment absorbs a final vision of Jonah's, the night of the crime. He sees Jonah arriving home, finding his wife already dead, the victim of a robber hired by her lover, a wealthy man who covered it all up. "I tried to save her," Jonah whispers, "but I was too late." Elias, convinced of his innocence, plans a daring escape. The system strikes back. Hale uncovers the conspiracy and orders the execution expedited. The persuasiveness here is palpable. The script argues that miracles come not from distant gods but from acts of human courage, prompting the viewer to question, how many lives are lost for convenience? The tension builds with sharp dialogue that echoes ethical dilemmas, as when Elias shouts to Hale, "What if the miracle is proving us wrong? Would you rather kill an innocent than admit fault?" Jonah, growing weaker, becomes the catalyst, his supernatural presence forcing everyone to confront their inner demons. The execution is scheduled for dawn, and Block E pulses with an electric energy, as if the walls know what is coming. Elias, now a transformed man, bribes loyal guards to delay the proceedings while Carla and Riley gather evidence for a last-ditch appeal to the governor. Jonah, chained to the gurney in the execution room, smiles weakly at Elias. "You are already free," he says. The spectators, a mix of journalists, victims' families, and bureaucrats, watch through the glass, oblivious to the supernatural drama. When the switch is flipped, something miraculous occurs. Instead of death, Jonah absorbs the electricity as collective pain, projecting visions onto everyone in the room. Hale sees his own corruptions, the journalists, truths about the justice system. Even the governor, remotely, receives a flash of past injustices. The device malfunctions, sparks fly, and Jonah passes out, but alive. In the chaos, Elias frees him, and together they flee into the shadows of the prison, with Riley and Carla bringing up the rear. Outside the bars, Jonah, weakened but redeemed, touches Elias one last time, transferring back the pain he absorbed, not as a burden, but as lessons. "Now take this to the world," he whispers before disappearing in a supernatural mist, his body dissolving as if he had never physically existed. Elias, rejuvenated, dedicates his life to reforming the system, exposing corruption and saving other innocents. The ending is shocking. Years later, Elias, old but at peace, visits Sarah's grave, feeling her presence. The script is powerfully persuasive. Miracles exist in empathy and the fight against indifference. The viewer is left with a call. Be the miracle the world awaits before it's too late.